97.3 ESPN presents The Sports Bash with Mike Gill. It's time for Football at 4 with Adam Caplan, powered by the Inside the Birds podcast.
We expect to win every time we step on the field. That's just the mindset and the culture that we have.
Now, live from inside the Matt Black Kia Studios, it's Football at 4.
Football at 4 is powered by the Inside the Birds podcast. Adam Caplan is in the house, and it's brought to you by PlaySugarHouse.com. Sign up now. They'll match your first deposit up to $250. Go to PlaySugarHouse.com. Win real money with their sports book and casino games from the comfort of your home. Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Adam Caplan from the Inside the Birds podcast is in the house as he joins us now on the Boardwalk Honda hotline. A lot of stuff to get into. Eric Davis, the 49ers Super Bowl champion, joined us earlier, said some interesting things regarding Carson Wentz. And I know, Adam Caplan, we want to get into that with you as well. He mentioned he thinks that he is pressing as a corner. He said that's what he's reading on Wentz. Is his issues mechanical? Is he trying too hard? Does he not have enough weapons? When you see Wentz 3 weeks now, what are we looking at?
Mike, good to be with you guys. Yeah, it's all the above. Now, the pressing part, I was talking with Ron Jaworski yesterday, and Jaws felt that he was, because obviously Jaws played the position, and he kind of knows what he's looking at when quarterbacks are struggling. So I think when you look at this situation, coaching can only do so much. If he just settles down, plants his feet correctly, he's not even squaring his shoulders up correctly all the time, and he's not looked to this degree with the mechanics this bad. Last year it was the start of the regression as far as people are concerned, that no, and it's gotten significantly worse now. It really has nothing to do, by the way, with who he's throwing to, unless it's in his head. It just really, quarterbacks know that they're taught to do certain things and not taught to do certain things. And he is freelancing, I'm told, with his mechanics. And it is mechanics, but the other thing is, though, forcing the football. That goes to guys trying to do too much. And that's the other part of this, which we didn't really see that a lot last season, despite everything that happened. Yeah, did he make some bad decisions? Sure. I didn't think he was pressing too much. This is the first time we've really seen it to this degree. And here's the problem. This leads into this week's game. They have so many guys hurt on offense. He needs to understand they're going to have to rely on the run game more. It's not really Doug Pederson's forte, but Miles Sanders has looked great, and they're going to probably have to do it. I don't think they're going to have any choice in this game with all the injuries they have at receiver.
Okay, let's tap on that for a little bit, because obviously Deshaun Jackson, Alshon, J.J., Hightower did not practice today. You had Greg Ward was the only guy out there. What is it going to look like on Sunday night?
All right, so here's what I think. Deshaun Jackson, you expect him not to play. I'm told he's got a minor hamstring strain, so it's a 1 to 2 week injury. You could expect him not to play. Arcega-Whiteside, as I understand it, he has a calf strain, which he had. He suffered in pregame warm-ups. That's why he wound up dressing and not getting targeted. He was out there, but he just was not himself. He did what he could. It's very hard for receiver guys to play with a calf strain. I can't see him playing, but we'll see if there's any improvement tomorrow. I don't know why Alshon Jeffrey didn't work today in terms of the practice part. I don't know if he did individual drills like I'm told that he did last week. It's not a good sign for this week. He probably won't play. They'll know more tomorrow. John Hightower, it's not clear why he didn't practice. So right now, what is it going to look like? Greg Ward's your slot receiver, and he also, by the way, has been playing outside lately. You could almost bet that they're going to sign a couple of receivers or add a couple of receivers or his call-ups on the practice squad. Deontay Burnett almost certain is to be added from the practice squad. In fact, I think he ought to stay on the active roster for several weeks. Travis Fulgham, who was a really good story after he's claimed off waivers. Fulgham, you could expect he's number 13. This kid's 6'2.5", a basketball player in high school, who I'm told was a walk-on at Old Dominion. That's a basketball school, if you remember. He was actually recruited there, but he basically just had to prove that he could play, and he did there. This kid's a really good athlete. He was drafted by the Lions. He's been with the Lions, the Packers now, with the Eagles, and he did a good job, I'm told, in training camp, so you expect him to play. Guys, this might be very similar to the final quarter of last season, where most of the receivers, if not all, were not on the opening day roster. That's the unfortunate part about it. And when we talk about pressing guys, this is the part where the coaches have to get in his head. Just let it rip. Don't worry about who you're throwing to. You let them do their job. If they don't catch or get open, it's on them.
That's very disappointing to hear, hearing all these names.
I know.
With Deshaun, though, you saw early in the season, like week 1, they went with like a precautionary limit on his snaps. Is this more of a precautionary thing so maybe he can be better later on in the season, or is this like he's extremely hurt kind of thing?
No, he's got a minor, I'm told a minor injury. It's a minor hamstring strain. So we'll have more on this on our show tomorrow on Inside the Birds, our podcast, which drops at 6 a.m. But I could tell you that I would call him doubtful right now that he plays. Look, the one thing about Deshaun is you got to be careful of how many snaps you play him. He does turn 34 in December. He has a significant history when it comes to soft tissue injuries. And no one ever thought he'd play anywhere close to 16 games. I thought at best if they can get 12, that would be a win for them. So with him probably missing this week's game, that's not good. But the thing is, you're going to need him. And if you're going to miss games, you might as well miss them now and get him ready and make sure that he's fully healed.
You mentioned Deontay Burnett. He was not listed among all the tweets today where people were like, only one guy practiced. I didn't see that. Did he practice?
No, he practiced. No, what they're talking about is the fight on the active roster.
Oh, so Burnett was active last week, was he not?
No, but he's not on the active roster right now. He was a call-up. He went back on the practice squad on Monday.
Gotcha.
Yes, and he was protected, by the way. Fulgham was protected. Deontay Burnett was protected. And Adrian Killens was protected. So and Luke Juriga, who's a center, was protected. They really like him, by the way. So Holyfield also was available, but they seem to be set at running back. But the problem now is at wide receiver. And here's the other problem: you can't really sign anyone. We've just had Thursday's practice. You can't expect them to sign somebody and them to play. So you got to go with what you have. I mean, right now I don't see them dressing any more than 4 or 5 receivers. Matter of fact, 4 would not surprise me. And then what you have is because of the problem at tight end with Dallas Goedert going on IR, Richard Rodgers, and then Hakeem Butler, by the way, who they signed off the Panthers practice squad. He was a very accomplished receiver at Iowa State, but does not run well at all. He does not run anywhere close to his 40 time that he had. He's a slower receiver, so he's a tight end now for the Eagles, and he might have to dress.
I was going to get into him. I'm very intrigued by this, and I'm glad you brought the running up with him because people are looking at this speed, and I'm thinking, man.
It's not real.
Right, okay. Speaking of speed, Quez Watkins, what's the story there? Is there a possibility that they almost have to play him this week?
All right, so Mike, here's the deal. He is now designated for return. So the difference between the old designated to return and now, he would have to practice 2 weeks. Then you could play him. Now they could, as soon as they activate him, if they activate him by Saturday's deadline at 4 p.m., he could play Sunday. Mm-hmm. And he has a minor injury, I'm told. So if he looks good in practice this week, I don't know why they wouldn't activate him. Right. It's just a matter of what's his conditioning like because he hasn't practiced in 5 weeks. You got to see where he's at. But they need him. At this point, they have to be so desperate. And Quez Watkins is a guy that is going to have to get chemistry down with the quarterback because he just did not practice with him very much. And that's another part of this. John Hightower has not been with Wentz very long. J.J. Arcega-Whiteside didn't play very much last season. He is now hurt. Alshon Jeffrey missed over 9 months of practice. He's just getting back. The timing with Wentz and his receivers is clearly not been very good so far. Mm-hmm. Zach Ertz is going to have to do what he always does, dominate pass targets. And Miles Sanders, you could absolutely bet he will be heavily involved, and so should Boston Scott in the pass game this Sunday at the Niners.
Adam Caplan from the Inside the Birds podcast. Don't forget it drops tomorrow morning, 6 a.m., and then don't forget the Inside the Birds pregame show. What time's that starting with the Sunday Nighter?
Yeah, this one we're going to do at 5 p.m., and we'll go right after the inactives come out, just before 7. We'll review them and all the lineup changes. And, folks, there's going to be so much to disseminate with the lineup changes at receiver in particular because, again, I don't know who they're lining up right now. I haven't seen anything like this. It's really bizarre to me, but we'll see what the injury report shows in about 20 minutes.
Okay, so I wanted to go back to Watkins real quick, and not because, this guy's special or he's great or why aren't they playing him. He was obviously hurt. But if you're Doug Pederson and you're watching your friend Andy Reid scheming up ways, and I thought Rob Motti asked an interesting question yesterday that Doug just, I don't know what the hell answer he gave. It was all over the place, a minute and a half of I have no idea, but the point is, Mecole Hardman's a second-round pick. Hill, I get it. He was in some trouble, but was a fifth-round pick. The kid Robinson's they don't have these top-flight one guys, but what they do is they accentuate the positives of what they have. And San Francisco is very good at figuring out ways to get the ball to guys who can just run. They might not catch the ball great. They might not run great routes, but they figure out ways to jet sweep them, bubble screen them, get them open underneath. Can the Eagles do a better job of scheming what they actually have?
Yeah, it's a good question, Mike. This past game they did some pre-snap motion, but they didn't do a lot of bells and whistles here. To be honest with you, it was disappointing. In fact, I've been completely underwhelmed by the new coaches in terms of what innovation they brought in. I'm told that it came from Jeffrey Lurie, the owner, not only to move on for the two coaches that were not brought back, but he wanted innovation. And that's why they brought in Rich Scangarello, formerly of the 49ers and the Broncos OC last season. They want that kind of innovation, the ability to create space. Carlos Hyde, the former Niners running back, who's now with Seattle, told me in 2017 in that training camp that he had never been with a coach who could create so much space for him to run. That's what you're looking for by formation variation. You watch Deebo Samuel, who was a terrific rookie. Do you know how much room he had to run? A lot of crossers and run after the catch. We're just not seeing it. And one thing to watch, guys, on Sunday, watch how spread out the Eagle receivers are. They're not in tight. Because when you have them in tight like the Rams do, then you force the defenders to figure out who they're covering. They just don't do a lot of disguise and deception. By the way, when we talk about disguise and deception, they did a ton of that in 2017 on their Super Bowl run. They are not doing very much this season so far.
With Dallas Goedert out, how much of a role do you think Rodgers is going to have? Do you think that they still stick with a heavy 12 personnel set?
Here's the thing, Hunter. I don't know what they're going to have on Sunday. Because if they would have had everybody, this absolutely would be 11 personnel game with Jackson and Ward and Hightower, and even if they got Jeffrey back. But they don't. They don't have Rager, by the way. He had his surgery last Thursday. I'm told it's still a 6 to 8 week recovery. So I would guess 12, which means 2 tight ends and 2 receivers. And Richard Rodgers is all they have right now. I don't even know. Like Akeem Butler just got there. I don't know if he'll know the terminology and the offense. The two offenses that he's been with, the Panthers and the Cardinals, are completely different from the Eagles. So I don't know. I don't know if he can dress, to be honest with you. And then here's another thing. Jalen Hurts did technically line up in his first game at receiver. I know he didn't catch one, but maybe they use him as a receiver. Who knows, man? I joked on Twitter. Maybe Mike Quick and Harold Carmichael could suit up if they could run. I mean, they don't have anybody right now. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, and the Butler kid's interesting. I actually I texted somebody down in Carolina that plays with them down there, and I asked about him. He said the dude is a freak athlete. He said he's very quiet, doesn't say 2 words. So, making a switch in the middle of the season with all this going on, you're wondering, a guy, how is he supposed to learn? But can you just put in a handful of plays just to have a body out there? But it sounds like Richard Rodgers is going to be the guy that they're going to have to do if they want to play in that 12 personnel and just go with the 2 tight ends. It's like you're right. It doesn't sound like even if you're intrigued by him, it almost seems like you couldn't use him this week.
One thing they can do, and this guy did flash a little bit, Caleb Wilson, his father Chris, was actually the Eagles D-line coach during their Super Bowl run. Caleb Wilson's a really athletic. He's actually a flex tight end. He looks like a receiver out there. I could see them doing this, but what they really need is someone to block for Zach, because that's what Richard Rodgers can do. Richard Rodgers, when he came out of college, Cal, he was more of a receiving tight end. Now he's just a blocking tight end. But they're going to have to be extremely creative. You know what? This is where the coaches get paid. They're being asked to do things that they probably were not thinking they would have to do, and they're going to have to think outside the box just to move the football against a defense, by the way, with the 49ers. Though they have 4 guys in their front 7 on injured reserve, they played extremely well the last 2 weeks on defense.
Speaking of defense, the last week they got to the quarterback 8 times. There was some injuries. We don't know who's going to line up other than Slay, I guess, on that side. Is there reason to be optimistic about the defense? I am petrified with jet sweeps and George Kittle this week.
Yeah, Kittle's going to play, by the way, barring a setback. So, yeah, look, I think when you look at it, the good thing is their front 4 was terrific last week. 18 hits on the quarterback, 8 sacks. Though I'm told that Javon Hargrave still is not there all the way physically. He missed 6 weeks of practice, missed just about all training camp. Blake Jackson's looked great. Cox played well last week. Brandon Graham in his best game of the season. Josh Fleck just continues to impress. Barnett had 2 sacks. He's getting better. So I think that's a positive. That is absolutely optimistic. They should be optimistic. And if Hargrave could play like they think that he's being paid to play like, this could be one of the best D-lines in football. And they also have a really good depth. But Mike, let's get to the quarterback situation, okay? So with Avonte Maddox not playing this week with his ankle injury, they got problems. Because right now, they don't really have a true outside corner. Trevor Lawrence, by the way, didn't practice yesterday with a rib injury. Right now, he's their top outside corner. Trevor Williams was off their practice squad last week. So they got major problems. It was the one mistake I thought they made is not adding a quality outside corner for backup purposes. They didn't do that the way they happened. Jalen Mills is probably going to have to play corner this week. You're probably going to see Marcus Epps play more at safety. And maybe Kevin Wallace, their 4th-round pick, dressed this week. If Epps has got to be that strong safety next to Mills, but the guys, if you thought their injury was worse last year, again, it's actually worse right now because it's pushing depth on both sides of the football, which is not the way it was last season. It was just about starters. Now it's backups and starters. It's a pretty bad situation right now.
Defensively, did we see anything different schematically with Jim Schwartz last week?
Yeah, Hunter, here's what they did, and I've been on this really for 2 years since we started Inside the Birds in the spring of 18. One thing Schwartz does not really believe in is blitzing, obviously, with a wide 9. It's all about the front 4. And then the other thing is he doesn't really do a lot of pre-snap and post-snap disguise. That's what other teams have told me when they do advanced work in the Eagles, but they did a little bit. They sprinkled it in a little bit, so it was good to see that. But, overall, Schwartz, I'm told by so many teams, I can't even count as high as the teams that have told me the same thing. He just is very vanilla defensively, doesn't do anything exotic. It's all about the front 4. And when the front 4 doesn't get home, they have literally no chance to win. So right now, the front 4 has been starting to dominate. I know that Bengals have the NFL's worst offensive line. I got a little news flash for you. The Niners don't have a very good offensive line. They're good at the tackles. They're not very good. They're below average inside. That, to me, is where the Eagles can make their money with Hargrave, Cox, and Malik Jackson.
We'll let you out on this. Eagles have a lot of injuries. San Fran has a lot of injuries. They didn't have any problem with their injuries against the Giants. They didn't have any problem with their injuries against the Jets. Those teams are really bad. Are you putting the Eagles on their level, or are the injuries going to be a problem for San Francisco this week?
Yeah, I would be. Richard Sherman's not playing at corner, so that obviously would help the Eagles a little bit. This is an incredible stat that I looked up. So both teams combined have 18 players on reserve lists. 18. Eagles have 8. The Niners have 10. The Niners are a little bit worse off in certain positions, but their depth is actually better at certain positions. So to me, clearly the Niners should not have a problem winning this game, particularly because the Eagles are going to have trouble scoring. But one thing that I've noticed over the years is right when you think the Eagles can't win a game, they win it, particularly on the road where they rally. Maybe it's good that they're getting away this weekend after 2 bad home games. Maybe it's good that they're getting away and making a 6-hour flight. Maybe they bond a little bit because they need to change it up a little bit, guys. They've definitely underachieved. There's no question about that.
The Inside the Birds podcast drops tomorrow morning. Adam Caplan, Jeff Mosher. Jeff Mosher will be on with us tomorrow. And don't forget the guys, 5 o'clock. You can check out the Inside the Birds pregame show. Trey Thomas, Greg Cosell, Adam Caplan, Jeff Mosher. They'll have you preview that, so check that out. And the Inside the Birds podcast tomorrow at 6 a.m. He is Adam Caplan, and he, like all guests, appeared via the Boardwalk Honda hotline. Adam, thank you.
Guys, thank you.
Football at 4, it's brought to you by PlaySugarHouse.com. Sign up now. They'll match your first deposit up to $250. Go to PlaySugarHouse.com and win real money with their sports books along with casino games from the comfort of your home. Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. The often imitated, never duplicated football at 4. NFL insider Adam Caplan dropping the knowledge there.